Welcome Home, a podcast for veterans, about veterans by veterans, is a project of Willing Warriors and the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run.
Good morning. My name is Larry Ziliaks. I'm your host, the Director of Culinary Services here at the Warrior Retreat. And today I have a guest who's with the VFW, Tom Levitt. He's a member of the National Legislative Committee for the VFW. You're also with the Post 1503 in Dale City, Virginia, which is a Chesty Puller post. This is pretty awesome. Welcome. And Tom, if you don't mind, just tell us briefly a little bit about your military service background, and then we'll talk about some of the legislative priorities that the VFW has for 2023.
Sure. But I'm going to brag about my post first, since you introduced me and you mentioned my position on the National Legislative Committee. I was nominated by the current state commander, Jeff Leister, for the state of Virginia, VFW commander. And I'm currently a Legacy Life member in the Chesty Puller post. And the Chesty Puller post is named for Chesty Puller because he is a charter member of our post.
Wow.
And like a year after the post was chartered, he passed away, and we did get permission from his wife, Virginia, to use his name as part of the name of our post. So we redesignated our post the Chesty Puller Post. And we are the largest VFW by membership in the world.
Oh, wow.
Over 3,300 members, and we are in a target-rich environment. So we do have Quantico and Belvoir and all the DC Metro Air Force bases, Joint Base Anacostia Bowling, et cetera. So a lot of people commute from the area where we are. We're kind of a bedroom community for those commuters. So we do get quite a few people. I actually retired from the Army in 2009 after 22 years, and I spent about 12 years as a light infantryman, mech infantry and light infantry airborne, jumping out of planes until the docs did a couple of back surgeries on me. A lot of people have bad knees after being airborne community, but I had a bad back. I had a couple of surgeries, and the doc said, "Hey, Sergeant Levitt, you're all hua and no more dua."
Okay.
So you got to find a new line of work. So they sent me back to school for the biggest oxymoron in the military intelligence.
Oh, okay.
So I spent the last half of my career as an all-source analyst. I retired out of the NATO Rapid Deployable Corps in Spain. I was an analyst there.
Nice assignment.
Yeah, so pretty nice capstone to a career after doing some pretty not so great tours in other places in the sandbox and other locations that I won't go into here. But anyway, I ended up retiring back here in the Northern Virginia, D.C. area, and I've been a defense contractor ever since.
Wow.
I live here with my beautiful wife, Kelly, who's also the president of the auxiliary of Post 1503, which is one of the largest auxiliaries in Virginia.
Wow.
With over 1,000 members. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I have a son that lives in Richmond. He's a chef, just like you.
Wow.
And I also have a son that works for Lockheed Martin right here in Northern Virginia.
Oh, great. So if you would just kind of give us an overview of maybe the top 3 or 4 legislative priorities for 2023 that the VFW has.
Okay. So first of all, let me start off by telling you what the National Legislative Committee really does. We support the DC Legislative Office by being ambassadors for our constituency by state. So we have members. I represent the state of Virginia along with my counterpart, Jill Lynch, who's a member of the post down in Virginia Beach. She really is, I wish she was here, she really is the expert at legislative. I'm her Padawan learner for I hate to use the Star Wars analogy, but I'm really the Padawan learner. She's the Jedi Master, and I just kind of follow her lead. We go up and we try to meet with the delegation from Virginia twice a year to advocate for the VFW or for veterans priorities that the VFW has deemed as priority. And we do that twice a year, once in the fall toward the end of the legislative session, right, and then again at the beginning of the year in the spring when the new Congress starts. So this is the 124th Congress. So we try to visit all 13 members of our delegation in Virginia,
Right.
and the senators. So we go and speak to them. And this year we had some priorities that our National Commander-in-Chief, Tim Borland, outlined in concert with the DC office. And one of them is cracking down on the predatory claims companies. I know with the passage of the Pact Act and other
Camp Lejeune water.
the Camp Lejeune water, which is part of the Pact Act, another part of the Pact Act, a lot of claim companies, and some are reputable. Well, I won't say reputable. Some are they're doing work that, frankly, VSOs, Veteran Service Organizations, disability claims officers will do for free.
Right.
And they're asking for fees that aren't necessarily nominal. They're taking large chunks of somebody's back pay for their disability settlement, or a percentage over time of their disability settlement. And to us, that's just a no-go all around, trying to take advantage of soldiers. And when you have somebody who's disadvantaged financially, especially, I'm sure you see a lot of younger soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, service members come here to the Willing Warriors Retreat, and they don't have a lot of beans. And when somebody dangles money out in front of them, it's really hard for them to say no. And they're using their own doctors. They're charging exorbitant services for their fees. And we're asking, we asked Congress to support a piece of legislation this year called the Guard VA Benefits Act.
Right.
And it's I can't remember I should have wrote the numbers down in here, but there's two of those. There's one sponsored in the House and one sponsored in the Senate. And we do believe that legislation is going to get through. But I will tell you that there was testimony as recently as this past August where these companies came up to Congress and pretty much misrepresented what they were doing.
Right.
But they misrepresented the truth in their testimony. And that's right on the Senate website. You can go right there and download any of that stuff that you want to see. And this was testimony that Chairman Elaine Luria, who's no longer in Congress, she was replaced by Jen Keegan's she's down in the Virginia Beach area, but she was a great champion for veterans. And so is Jen Keegan. She has been so far. We have a really good delegation in Virginia. So that's one of the big ones.
And let me just stop you right
Sure.
there. The bottom line is, if you're considering a claim, if you are going to make a claim to the VA for services, a disability claim, there's no way you should be paying anybody to do that for you. Not only does the VFW have service officers, the American Legion has them, the Disabled American Veterans
DAV,
has the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth's Department of
Virginia
Veteran
Veteran Services, VBS.
will do
Absolutely.
it for
There
you.
are tons of service organizations out there that I think a lot of people just don't realize that the services are there and they're free. They don't charge a dime.
Yeah, it just boggles my mind that there are people out there falling for this, basically. These commercials you see on TV all about Camp Lejeune, and you're right, they charge exorbitant fees, and really these claims could be handled by service officers.
And we're not asking that they be disallowed to file claims. We're asking that they be held to the same standard that our accredited service officers are held to, because their claim is that they can't be accredited, when in fact the truth of the matter is they can be accredited. The VA authorizes any individual or veteran service organization to represent veterans, and anyone else can apply to be an accredited service officer. So that argument doesn't hold water, and they claim they're filling a gap when in fact the problem is probably education.
Right. Getting the word out like we're doing today.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we looked at hard is suicide prevention.
Sure.
I know that 22 a day, any a day is too many, but a realistic goal is try to lower that number as much as we can, back down into the teens or even lower, equal to the national average in suicides. And the problem with getting information from the VA is that there's two big arms in the VA. The Veterans Services Administration, or the Veterans Benefits Administration,
Right.
and then the Veterans Health
Health.
Administration.
Yeah.
And they don't always talk to each other.
Right.
And data that can help somebody's health might reside in the veterans benefits side of the house, and that information isn't shared readily. And one of the things that we did here is we talked to Congress this spring when the new Congress came into session, and we asked them to just go to VA. We're not even asking them to legislate, just send a letter to VA and ask them to share this information a little more readily on suicide and benefits. Are veterans who are receiving benefits more or less likely to commit suicide? It's a metric that we think could help us do better at suicide prevention. And frankly, they're just not real easy to get to play nice with each other.
Right.
And I see it in my working with the government, where you have stovepipes of information, and there's great people in the VA doing great work. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big benefactor of the VA system. I use VA healthcare. I have VA disability compensation. But at the same time, they suffer the same problems that a lot of organizations do, and it's that the information doesn't always flow laterally where it needs to, but it goes up and down in those stovepipes. So that's the problem that we're trying to solve. And actually, Congressman Connelly's office drafted a letter and was circulating it around the Virginia delegation to send to the VA. I have not gotten any feedback on whether that came to fruition.
Right.
But his staff, we usually end up meeting with staff and not the legislator. That's really where the work gets done anyway.
For sure.
But we met with his staff. They were very receptive, and they knew that the congressman would be receptive. We got a lot of good feedback from those offices, especially something that doesn't cost money.
Yeah, right. Just trade information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share information, force them to share the information. And I know they're in the process, along with TRICARE and the military healthcare system, moving to a new
Computer systems,
new healthcare management systems. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, I'm already feeling the pain of some of those transitions, because they're not going as smoothly as always. Doesn't go as smoothly as you hope.
Yeah.
One of the other big pieces of legislation that we were pushing, and that was on the docket last year for a vote, never came to the floor, was the Major Richard Starr Act. And I don't know if you know who Major Richard Starr is. He's one of the people who died while waiting for the Pact Act to go through. And his widow has been championing this. Chapter 61 retirees, which are those retirees who sustain combat injuries, and we're just asking that they have a choice to receive their vested retirement pay or their VA disability compensation without being offset. So not to receive that VA offset. Right now, only retirees that are over 50% disability receive in-kind compensation, without being offset.
Right.
This isn't asking for full retirees to get concurrent receipt. This is asking for people who were close to retirement, but were medically retired and receiving combat related special compensation to have the choice to take their retirement without an offset over the CRSC. And right now they can't. And that was a big one right there. And this one is probably going to make it through this year. And I really hope it does.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. And the last big piece, and this is probably just a conversation with DOD that we want to have, and it's something that came up out of a trip that our executive staff chairman, Ryan Gallucci, and our Commander-in-Chief, Tim Borland, went to visit those eastern border countries that are along close to Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. And there are a lot of service members who are over there supporting or thwarting additional aggression along their borders with Ukraine, and they're not receiving, especially some of them that are reservists that are mobilized. They're not mobilized under an expeditionary campaign. They're mobilized. A lot of them have been mobilized under other than expeditionary conditions, and they're not qualifying for hostile fire pay.
Right.
They're not and it's not about the getting another bauble on their uniform. It's about ensuring that when they leave that combat zone or that area of threat, that they are able to receive the appropriate compensation, especially for reservists or guardsmen who are deployed. It impacts them the most. It really is something that we believe that they should authorize. And I think there is movement. The challenge we get is that
they've got to be reluctant to say Poland is a combat theater.
They have people pretty close to the border of Ukraine right now.
There.
They still authorize combat pay for Bosnia. So people going to Bosnia are still getting expeditionary medals. We're just asking for them to recognize the situation that they put these soldiers in. A lot of them are in austere conditions.
Right.
They're not great. One of the organizations that I work with, we have people that are going there to support that mission. So I know firsthand from their accounts that it's not a vacation.
My understanding of most of them that are rotating in and out are Army.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of reserve and guard components. So that was what we took to the Hill, in addition to our the much more broad goals that we have for the year, which is in our 2023 priority goals. And I'm going to make a plug here. We actually have on our website the Action Corps Weekly. If you go to vfw.org, you can look under the top banner under news. There's legislative. There's the Action Corps Weekly. You can go on there anytime and read about, like this past week, our legislative chairman, Pat Murray. I love it that I'm using hand gestures. No one can see them.
It's all right.
Pat Murray was up on the Hill testifying on behalf of us, veterans, this past week.
Right.
But that recorded testimony, the things that we're doing day to day, they're all put up there, and things that we're advocating week to week that are timely, or a call to action where we want people to go and send a letter to their Congress person and or their senator to support a bill. We put that up there whenever something important comes up. That Action Corps Weekly is something you can just sign up for, and you do not have to be a veteran. We encourage family members and anyone who has an interest in veterans and the rights of veterans to sign up for that, because that's where we do the heavy lifting for legislative.
Now,
right there.
in addition to just seeing it on the webpage, if you sign up for it, that's an email.
They send out a weekly
email
update on what's going on with Congress, what our priorities are, what committee meetings are coming up, what testimony work is coming up, what bills we're supporting.
Yeah, that's good, because then it's no work on your point.
Yeah.
You just open the email and you can read what's going on. And I'd encourage everybody to sign up for that. For sure.
That's a big deal for us to get the word out to the masses, and not just the veterans. Because the VFW motto is no one does more for veterans. And that's what it's all about. I mean, it's not some smoky bar room inside a little wooden building out in the country where your grandpa drinks and smokes.
Right.
It's much more than that. This is not. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't VFWs that you might walk into and see that.
Yeah.
But the VFW is so much more than that, especially at the national level. We're just really trying to do the best and it's a good place for comrades and veterans to gather.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you go to the webpage and you just look at the 2023 priority goals, I mean, there's a ton of them there. We just hit on 3, and what's really crazy is if you look at my sheet that I printed out before we got together, the 3 that I highlighted were the 3 that you talked about. But there's a number of them on here that really do affect the quality of life for the families.
Yeah.
It's not just the veteran, but the VFW is on top of legislation that will be better quality of life for not only active duty and veterans, but their families as well. Because here at the retreat, we understand that the family serves right along with the veteran or the service member. And so, yeah, definitely, if you're a spouse or you have son or daughter in the military, please take a look at this and familiarize yourself with what's going on. Write a letter. If you're a service member and you qualify to be a member of the VFW, I would encourage everybody to join who can qualify, because every time you see some sort of committee hearing that involves veteran issues, you will see somebody from the VFW, the American Legion, the VFW, Disabled American Veterans, all leaders in this field and always involved. And your dues go to support that. And the amount of work that they do on behalf of veterans is just, it's just amazing, really. You've got an entire network of, state coordinators such as yourself, which is feeding up all this feedback to the DC office and the National Legislative Committee. It's because of the work of these veteran service organizations that we have things like the Pact Act, that we have things like the Compact Act, which, for those listeners who don't know, the Compact Act recently was signed into law, and it provides for the VA to pay for emergency mental health care for a veteran anywhere in the country to any organization. So if they are having issues and they need counseling, they need help, and they go to a hospital that's not part of the VA system, the VA will pay for that care, both in and outpatient. So it's when it comes to helping to reduce the number of veteran suicides, that was a huge advancement. And let me tell you, our Congress people are not sitting around thinking of what can we do to help that. I don't think very much would be done to help veterans if it wasn't for the VFW, the Legion, and these organizations going up there and telling them this is what we need. And that's not going to happen unless today's veteran joins the VFW and American Legion or Disabled American Veterans, or because they need your support. They need financial support to operate. It's just the return on your investment when you put your dues into an organization like this is just huge. It's just huge.
And I agree. Some of it is financial, but I'm going to tell you that what means more than the financial part, and it's the bodies, the numbers. This is a shameless plug for people who are eligible, who are combat veterans or served in the hazardous fire area, who are eligible, including Korea for 30 days or more. When you join the VFW or another VSO, the DAV, the American Legion, you become part of a body that now can speak on behalf of veterans.
Sure.
And the larger our constituency is of veterans in the VFW, our membership,
louder the voice.
The louder our voice becomes. And I am remiss because I mentioned the Action Corps Weekly and signing up for that, but I did not remember to mention that we have an action alerts that comes right to your phone. You can text VFW to 50547, or if you go on the website and scan the QR code that's in the brochure, the Priority Goals brochure that you can download, that will get you to the message alerts. And this is one of those things where when we need people to lobby Congress or to call their congressman and let the staff know, I need you to support the Major Richard Starr Act. I need you to support the Guard veterans.
Predatory
claims, the Guard VA Act. Those are things that go out when those votes are coming up. So people know it's time to tell them, you need to vote on behalf of veterans.
I really think this is an important message to really let veterans know what the VFW does for them, besides having a place to go for a drink and to tell stories about with your buddies. Today's veteran is not really joining these VSOs like they had in previous conflicts. We're finding that today's veteran seeks out that self-help, comradeship, and tribe online. because they can do it with the very same people they served with, no matter where they're at. For many, they're just not even thinking about joining the VFW or the American Legion. That's really got to change, because there's so much work to do on a legislative, and it's never going to get to a point where, okay, it's good, now we can stop. It's just always going to be needed.
Absolutely. As long as there's lawmakers in that body across the river over there, we're going to have a need for people to advocate for veterans.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the VFW came about a little over 100 years ago. It was to advocate for veterans. Those people that are in those groups, like I actually belong to a couple of them, they do events, they go out. And when I talk to the younger veterans, especially the ones, because I kind of crossed over in retirement in 2009, I served during GWAT, the Global War on Terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Pentagon on September 11th. I was in the Persian Gulf at the very early part of my career as a young soldier at Fort Bragg in the 82nd Airborne Division. When you joined, you don't ever have to come to the post and sit at the bar. You can go to events, or you can just be a member who we speak on behalf of.
Yeah.
So you don't ever have to. I know a lot of people are, some of the arguments I get when I talk to younger veterans is, well, I don't live close to the post. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to go and have a beverage and then have to worry about driving home. And I'm like,
yeah,
you don't ever have to come to the post to be a member.
Right.
And being the Chesty Puller Post, we actually have a lot of Marines who get stationed at Quantico, who join our post and then move on to another duty assignment somewhere else, and they remain members of our post. So we don't see them very often.
Right.
We have a lot of geographically displaced members, and they seem to be fine with it. And we appreciate the numbers. It really helps us speak with a louder voice, as you said earlier. It matters. And I think we got to get better as an organization at identifying those events. I know that I belong to a group called Irreverent Warriors on Facebook, and they do a lot of events in the area, Silkies hikes, and they do them all over the country. And they're there all the time when somebody is despondent to be able to respond immediately.
Yeah.
And the outpouring from other veterans is so tremendous when somebody is in need or despondent, or they feel like their life has no meaning. These people rally around that person. And I've seen people, one veteran who was driving over the road in a truck, an over-the-road trucker delivering, and he was like, hey, I'm here, I'm stopping for the night, and I'm really he had a pet, he lost his pet. He said, I just don't know why I'm still here. One veteran piped in and said, hey, where are you at? I'm coming, we're going to have dinner. Let's talk. It takes that kind of tribe that, and veterans are a tribe, and so is the VFW. We're just trying to get some of those younger veterans more engaged with us and get some of that forward thinking of doing other events, doing things a little bit differently, looking at things from a different angle. Because I used to hear it when I first joined the VFW from the older VFW members, the World War II and the Korean War vets.
Right.
They looked down at the Vietnam War vets, and the Vietnam War vets didn't feel like they had a place. And a lot of them didn't join the VFW for a long time. And then when they came in, they were the young guys. And then I was the young guy when they were the old guys. And now I'm going to be one of the old guys, and the next generation coming behind me is going to have to change our minds on how we do business and we're going to have to find that common ground. We're always going to have that common ground as service members. So I think that's the thing that's going to hold us together. We just have to start thinking a little differently.
Yeah.
And absolutely, we have to be a voice for veterans issues in Congress all the time. I wish Pat Murray or somebody that our legislative chair, or Brittany Diamond or Christine Keener, I wish one of those folks were here. They're so much more eloquent than I am.
This was fantastic. I mean, we've gotten the message across. These are the really high priorities, especially when it comes to veteran suicide. As an organization, we're part of the Northern Virginia Veteran Suicide Coalition. We promote, every chance we get, we promote the 988+1 number.
Yes.
And we've started a program called Save the Number, where we're trying to get veterans to save that number in their buddy's phone. It's been a huge success. the VA just published information statistics on the number, and in March of 2023, 988+1 received over 88,000 calls, texts, and chats. So it's making an impact because veterans can get directly right to a counselor in just either speed dialing it if it's saved in their phone, or you're looking at dialing 4 numbers and you're talking to somebody who the idea is to put that pause in there for those veterans that are at a point where they're in pain. We know they're in pain. They're looking for a way to end the pain, and they're making some bad choices. They're thinking about a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And anything we can do to promote that is good. And anything that the VFW or any of the VSOs can do to get Congress to look at the issue of veteran suicide in depth and really make some concrete suggestions to the VA about making it a priority. I know the talk is that it's a priority, but sometimes it's a little hard to see what's changed as far as how it's going to become a priority. Again, that is what your VFW and your American Legion, all these veteran service organizations are doing. They're doing it for you. They're doing it on your behalf. So please consider joining one of them, especially the VFW. But Tom, really, I want to thank you for coming by today and talking to us and giving us a great overview of all of the 2023 priorities. I guess we'll do it again in 2024.
Absolutely. If you'll have me back, I'll be more than happy to come back. Dwayne Sarmiento, our Senior Vice Commander-in-Chief, will be the chief next year. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise.
Yeah.
And he will establish priorities for us for the next year as the incoming Commander-in-Chief this July in Phoenix during our national convention. So
great.
And I appreciate you having me out here.
Oh, yeah. It's just been great. Really appreciate it. And thanks for listening. We'll have another episode drop on Monday morning at 5 a.m. Until then, take care.
The Welcome Home podcast is brought to you by Willing Warriors, a nonprofit organization serving active duty service members and veterans since 2012. To learn more, please visit our webpage at willingwarriors.org.